When Hutch rushed over, he saw his son standing over Max, punching him again and again. Enraged, Hutch sent him home immediately. To apologize to his son, he decided to go back to the arcade and confront Max's father, Sal, a huge man with a violent reputation. Hutch hoped to resolve things peacefully, but his every word only fueled Sal's rage. Hutch realized he was dealing with a man who wouldn't listen to reason. With a heavy heart, he returned home without his son, defeated. That evening, dinner was silent, broken only by Sammy's sobs. Hutch felt the weight of his failure as a father. Looking at his wife, he knew he had to do something big to change everything. His eyes glistened with determination. The next day, Hutch took matters into his own hands. While the others slept, he drove to a store, buying paint, rollers, and a ladder. He then set to work painting a mural for his daughter, determined to make it the best. As the sun rose higher, he stepped back to admire his creation. A beautiful rainbow beneath which the words "Happiness is a choice" shone brightly. Sammy rushed over, her face lighting up with joy. Soon the whole family gathered around the artwork. Even Becca couldn't hide a smile. Hutch felt a surge of happiness. For the first time in years, he was truly connected with his family. Meanwhile, Sheriff Abel stood on his porch watching them, a mix of emotions on his face. Hutch caught his gaze and nodded slightly. The sheriff acknowledged it with a grunt before turning away. A strange sense of calm washed over Hutch. Suddenly he noticed a dark figure perched on the roof of his car. Startled, he called out to him. Was he some kind of stalker? But the mysterious man remained motionless, silent. As Hutch approached cautiously, he heard a soft thud and saw the stranger jump down from the car. Now, standing before him, the man's face was hidden under a wide-brimmed hat. But as he took a step closer, Hutch noticed something shocking. His face was covered in tattoos depicting nothing less than the devil himself. Suddenly, the man lifted his head, revealing piercing blue eyes that seemed to bore right through Hutch. Before Hutch could utter a word, the man struck, aiming a blow to his jaw. Hutch stumbled back, surprised by the unexpected attack. But the man wasn't finished. He lunged forward, sending a flurry of punches hurtling towards him. Hutch, taken aback by the sudden assault, found himself on the defensive, blocking and dodging the relentless blows. Each punch landed with bone-jarring force, underscoring the man's raw power. The fight was intense, a whirlwind of fists and grunts, leaving both men bruised and breathless. But it was the stranger who struck first and struck hard, keeping Hutch on the back foot. Just when it seemed the man would deliver a knockout blow, he suddenly stopped, staring directly at Hutch, and in a voice surprisingly deep and resonant he uttered, "You have something that belongs to me." With that cryptic message, he vanished, leaving Hutch bewildered and shaken by the encounter. Inside the interrogation room, Hutch uses a lighter to burn shut one of his many bloody wounds. Out of nowhere, a Volf stands by his side, leaving the agents completely stunned. Whispering to each other, they wonder who is this man. The fight was on. Max was screaming, "Get away from my sister," while Brady was growling and swinging wildly. The arcade security guard rushed in and broke up the chaos. Max hurled a ball toward Brady, but Hutch caught it in midair. Just then the guard shouted, "You're not helping, man. Your kids are going wild." In a flash of anger, Hutch spun around and snapped, "Don't talk to me." "What? Did you just tell me to mind my own business?" The guard took a step closer. "I saw you. You started this. Now get your kids under control or I'll call the cops." "My kids?" Hutch scoffed. "You don't know anything about us. How dare you insult my family?" Before the guard could respond, Becca stepped in. "That's enough. Let's just go." As they walked away, Sammy bent down to pick up the remains of her plushie, only for the guard to reach over and slap her across the head with the other shoe. "Hey!" Hutch exploded. The sight of his little girl being mistreated sent fury coursing through him. If looks could kill, the guard would have been a goner. But years of restraining his violent nature had taught Hutch to control his expressions. "Stay in the car, Brady," he whispered, his voice low and dangerous. He charged back into the arcade, slamming the door behind him. Hutch scanned the area for the guard, his heart pounding with restrained power. He knew exactly what he needed to do, but he had to hold off for just a little longer. He dashed to the bathroom, splashing water on his face to regain his composure. But his internal turmoil threatened to spill over. Shaking his head, he straightened his clothes, wiped off his sweat, and walked out, pretending he had forgotten his phone. With a casual air, he strolled back into the arcade, hoping to retrieve it from where he had left it near the claw machine. Just as he reached for it, he heard Sammy cry out, "Daddy!" His gaze shifted to the front counter and he saw the guard holding Sammy's doll like a weapon, brandishing it menacingly. The sight of his little girl in distress triggered a surge of protective rage within him. In a heartbeat, he made his move. He lunged across the counter, slamming his fist into the guard's jaw. The punch connected with a sickening thud, sending the guard crashing to the floor. But before he could recover, another guard jumped in. Hutch wasn't having it. He swiped out, catching the second guard off guard and slamming him into the claw machine. Suddenly, a customer shouted, "Hey, watch it, man." "That's my stuff." But Hutch wasn't listening. He yanked the claw arm from the machine and used it like a baseball bat, smashing it against the other guard's shoulder. Startled by the sudden eruption of violence, the customer hesitated, then swung at Hutch with a hammer he had grabbed from a nearby game. However, the chain was too short. Hutch snatched the hammer and brought it down on the guard's body with a resounding crack. He didn't stop until the guard's face crumpled and he slumped against the wall, defeated. The first guard slowly rose to his feet and charged at Hutch, but Hutch was ready for him. He sidestepped, grabbed the guard's leg, and pulled him off balance. Then he hauled him over a nearby pinball table and slapped him again and again, each blow echoing the guard's earlier strike on Sammy. The sound of the commotion drew a crowd and a woman's voice rang out, "Hutch, stop it." It was Becca. Her frantic tone cut through his anger and he looked up, meeting her worried gaze. Slowly he released the guard, his shoulders slumping in defeat. As the other guards closed in on him, he felt a strange sense of calm. The fight had gone as far as it could. He had defended his daughter, but now it was time to face the consequences. Outside the arcade, the police were waiting. Despite their efforts to keep quiet, word of the brawl had spread. Hutch knew he would be in trouble, but he didn't care. He had done what he had to do. At the station, Becca argued with the officers, claiming Hutch had acted in defense of his children. But the cops weren't buying it. Hutch watched, simmering with anger, as they dragged Brady away, scolding him for picking a fight. When they finally turned to him, he knew they were about to make an example of him. As he sat in the cell, Brady approached, his face beaming with admiration. "That was awesome, Dad," he said, eyes shining with excitement. "Can we do it again sometime?" Hutch shook his head, his expression grave. "You don't understand," he said, his voice low. "We can't do that again. You need to learn how to control your temper." "But you lost," Brady pointed out, scratching his head in confusion. "So did you win?" Hutch sighed, running a hand through his hair. He knew he had to be the bigger man, but it was hard when all he wanted to do was unleash his pent-up frustrations. Suddenly, the cell door opened and in walked none other than Wyatt. Hutch instantly stiffened, recognizing the powerful figure who ran the town. To make matters worse, Wyatt's face was as dark as thunder. "I want to know what the hell happened here," Wyatt demanded. Hutch remained silent, but Wyatt wasn't in the mood for games. "Why did you come to my town and cause a ruckus?" he pressed, his voice booming through the small space. Taking a deep breath, Hutch decided to level with the man. He calmly explained what had transpired with the guard, emphasizing how he had tried to protect his daughter. "And what would you have done if it were your kids?" Hutch asked, meeting Wyatt's gaze directly. To his surprise, Wyatt's anger seemed to dissipate. After a long pause, Wyatt finally spoke. "You have one free pass." "Because you're a tourist," he said gruffly. "But make sure it doesn't happen again." Hutch nodded, grateful for the understanding. He knew he had pushed his luck defending his kids, but he also knew he had stood up for what was right. Later, back at the hotel room, silence hung heavy in the air. The ride back had been filled with tension, each member of the family lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Becca broke the quiet. "Why didn't you tell me you were carrying weapons?" she asked, holding up a bag she had found in his luggage. Hutch tensed. Inside the bag were various tools, including a hammer, pliers, and a crow skull. "I was trying to surprise you," he admitted sheepishly. Becca stared at him, her eyes wide. "Surprise me with a bag of weapons," she said incredulously. Hutch sighed, running a hand through his hair. Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you, but I thought it would be a fun surprise. Becca threw the bag on the bed, tears welling up in her eyes. Fun, she echoed, her voice shaking. She turned away, unable to contain her emotions any longer. Seeing her cry broke his heart. He knew he had hurt her, and there was no excuse for it. He walked up behind her and wrapped her in a hug, whispering apologies in her ear. Becca turned around, her face stained with tears. How could you do this to me? She whispered, her voice trembling. I'm sorry, he said, his voice hoarse with emotion. I'm so sorry, she looked up at him, her eyes searching his. Do you even remember the first time we met? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He frowned, trying to piece together the memory. I don't remember, he admitted. Becca took a deep breath and said softly, You were covered in blood.